Tiffany.
I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Kobe.
And today we are talking about the power of practice.
Yes.
And this topic comes from our good host, Jasmine Charles.
Yeah.
Tell them. I was about to say Kobe. Tell them how you came up with this.
Well, both of our names technically Jasmine.
You're right.
But yes, power of practice. How did this topic come up? It derived from our last podcast, the Talk to Yourself with Robert Harper. And within that podcast, Robert came up to the point where he was mentioning about compound interest. Well, he didn't really say compound interest. He said it's the little things that are so easy to do, but then it's also the little things that's so easy not to do.
Right.
And so that whole thing just kind of resonated on my heart because Jarvis and I was having that same conversation literally right before that podcast, and it was stemmed from this book called The Slight Edge, and that's basically what they're talking about the entire book, about doing the little things over and over time until it builds and grow into the bigger thing.
Right.
And so after that podcast, it just kept ringing in my mind, and I kept saying it in the terms of compound interest, because what is compound interest? And this applies mainly to investing. And whenever you invest, most people think like, oh, I'm gonna go put $10 in the account today, and then it's gonna make me $5,000 tomorrow. But that's not really what it is. Really, and I don't want to say it like just investors that are really honing in for it, reaping large amounts of dividends of income in return. They're not doing it for the short term. It's the little things over a long period of time. And so it made me think to myself, like, compound interest applies to everything in life. So what are you doing every day, a little bit at a time, that's essentially leading us to where we are today and will lead us to where we are going to be in the future. Right. And so that's with our finances. What are you doing with your finances every day, little by little, month by month, week by week, to set you up for this grand picture? Not to say that you can't get the abundance right now. Is so possible, but still, what are you compounding? What financial knowledge are you receiving, or what type of financial habits are you practicing daily? What type of things are you doing right now that's going to lead you to where you want to be? The same that applies with working out. What type of nutrition are you feeding yourself so that you can say that you're healthy and cancer free and don't have high blood pressure? Like, what are the things you have to do right now? What are the actions you have to take little by little so that you can have whatever it is that you want? What are we practicing? And that, like I said, with sports, it's the same thing. You can start off with your ball handling. You can be trash. Every time you get the ball, you easily get ripped. But the more you practice, little by little, you will eventually get to the point to where you crossing people, breaking ankles, and going But you had to start getting the ball stolen before you can get to that point where you are now rocking people and you got the ball on a string. But so it just made me think. Practice makes, I don't want to say perfect, but it makes the thing attainable. It makes dreams come true. It makes you better. Practice make you better. But yes, so that's how that topic came up. So shout out to Robert Harper. Shout out to The Slight Edge. Shout out to Jarvis for reading that book and putting me on. I think it's my next read. Right. I'm definitely going to read really soon, Slight Edge, because it sounds like he's been really talking about this book a lot. Like, he's like, we can really do anything, like just the little things right where we are, because that's mainly, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but that's mainly our excuse. That's our excuse, guys, because we say, I don't have it. Like, we have this goal in our mind, right? Like, I want to have $10,000. But then we tell ourselves, okay, when I start making more money, then I can start saving up for that $10,000. Oh, when
guilty
and I'm talking about myself. What I literally have said, what I have said in the past, or when for the podcast, we'll start, putting our stuff on YouTube once we get everything that we need for the YouTube videos. We got to get the right angles. We got to get the right lighting. We got to get this, and this is good because you want to put out quality. But it's like we don't want to hinder ourselves from without like, and that's the thing with practice, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable. Like, you telling me I gotta go speak in front of a crowd and I'm shy as hell. Like, but that's the only way that's gonna get me to be more comfortable to talk to people. It's just like, but you have to start in that uncomfortable space, because that uncomfortable space is only gonna be temporary. It ain't gonna last forever. You just gotta get through that little 6 week, it could be 2 month, it could be 1 year period.
Wow.
But no, after you get through that, then it will become comfortable. But then until it's the next thing you gotta work toward and practice at. So life is a practice.
Yes.
I really love this topic because I feel like it's gonna change my life. And I already heard I was like,
Mine
ooh,
too.
ooh,
Right?
you know when you get a little triggered,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yes.
But yeah,
no,
go for it.
no.
Oh no, go for it.
You sure?
Yeah, because I don't know where to jump in at, so I don't know.
Go.
I have a
say
few
it.
things,
Yeah, say it.
but I just think that this is so important because earlier you were saying that it may not happen right now. Like, I'm not saying that it won't happen right now, but in order for it to happen right now, you do have to practice. And so when I was reading about this topic, I came across an article, and it was talking about the difference between learning and practicing. There's such a difference, and I just think it's fascinating because I catch myself being caught up in the learning phase, and I think a lot of people do that as well. And yeah, definitely, because like 2020, right, we're writing out our goals, and with that we're also writing out our plan. Okay, this is my goal, and let me research, get some knowledge to write out my plan. This is how I pitched a podcast. This is how pitch to brands, I'm sorry. This is how I get a fat booty. You know, you on YouTube, you're researching everything and obtaining the knowledge. But you are not
Have you got your ass up?
exactly.
Have you put that stuff to use?
Exactly.
Girl.
It's not until you put the knowledge that you obtain to use consistently that you're able to even be seen. You are not going to be seen. Your podcast ain't going to be popping if you're just researching how to podcast. Your body ain't going to be looking snatched if you're just researching how to be snatched. And so that's the difference between learning and actually practicing. It said a quote was saying, learning is not practicing, but practicing is learning. And I do believe that you do need to research those things before you get into it, but you want to make sure that you're not stuck in that learning phase, because I know we could be so consumed by basically, you know, being on YouTube, like, oh, okay, this is how you buy a house. You know, whatever your goal is, this is how I get my booty fat. Like, this is how I need this. And then you're like telling your friends, like, okay, look at this. Send it like I just sent y'all some episode of a podcast, which is very needed, but it's just like it's not enough to just learn. And that's what I just want to start off with. We have to put that stuff into practice, because though it might take longer for others, it takes the practicing to be noticed by that. You go and singing at Axelrad, you go and singing at little clubs and stuff for people to see you, to hear you posting and stuff like that. It takes you practicing to be able to get noticed and to be able to even get and attract that big break or whatever you're looking for.
Yeah. So with practicing, you have to figure out, you were talking about dribbling and how you have to know where you're starting, basically. So you have to take that moment to assess and say, okay, this is where I'm at now, and this is where I want to be. And I was listening to, Auntie Oprah. Like, I just love the Super Soul conversations. And it was one with Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he was just talking about getting to the core, right, of who you are and where you are and what you want to do and who you want to be. And he said you're either going to cut to the core or you're gonna rot to the core. And he was using an apple as an example. And what he meant by that, either you're gonna be someone who can say, okay, I'll use myself for an example. So right now I have rotten to the core. I'm gonna be vulnerable for a second. So finances, credit card got to 100% utilization, don't really have a savings. Living paycheck to paycheck. That's not how I want to, my finances to be. But I had to rot to get to a point where I said, okay, I have to do better, make better decisions. Yeah. But there was an opportunity where my credit card got to 30%. Oh, you're at 30%. You're at 50%. You're at 7%. You know, where I could have stopped it and said, okay, no, I'm gonna cut this out and I'm gonna make better decisions. Same with weight. You know, I've hit 200. I know you're probably looking at me. You probably, and everybody says that. Really? Everybody says that. I'm like, yes, I've hit 200. But it was a point where I could have stopped. I right into the core.
Right.
You know, and I look at everything in my life. I'm very successful at my job. Very highly skilled, high will. Like, I love what I do. But I'm on probation for not doing things in a timely manner.
Right.
So it's just getting to that point where you say, okay, you're evaluating yourself and saying, okay, am I going to make the decision right now today, or am I going to let myself get to this point where it's rock bottom before I make a decision to start practicing and learning and putting things into use to, you know, get to that better, to have a better life.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, I love that you were like vulnerable to us because, you know, like finances is very, you know, we all love to talk about finances and we're trying to get our financial freedom. And I did want to talk about that because right now I was talking to you about my student loans and I was talking to Jasmine the other day about how when you said that you weren't going to go on the trip because you're getting your finances in order. So it really made me start to think like, you know, even though I do have a savings, there are some financial goals that I need to obtain in order for me to do some other things that I want to do. Because I really just want to be debt free before I, you know, purchase a home or exactly.
Absolutely.
And so it wasn't until she said that, it just made me start thinking like, wow, my friend is really taking life into her own hands. I need to do the same thing with my finances. And what I found is, okay, I can aggressively pay off my debt. And I need to take some things, like I need to stop buying unnecessary things. And we talked about this in a podcast about being intentional. about being intentional. If y'all go back, it's like the power of being intentional. And like you said, you know, sometimes we forget we have to practice being intentional as well.
Right.
And so as I'm like honing in and really not trying to spend money, I'm realizing like I'd still spend money on people that like mean stuff to me, but even that I have to like draw it back. So I'll give you an example. My great coworker Ola, she no longer works at Be Busy. Like we were what coworker best friends.
Yeah.
And so she invited us for her going away party to do like paint and sip. And of course I'm going because that's my friend. I cherish her and stuff like that. But as I was getting her a gift, I was like, okay, what am I gonna get her? And you know, I want to make her happy. I want to get her the best thing, but I also had to like realize, okay, you only need to spend this much. You have a book at home that will be good for her to read if she gets down. And then you could get her this $5 mug, this $1 gift bag, and stuff like that. So I had to start thinking about that because I was also thinking out of ego. Ooh, I want to give her the best gift. Ooh, you know, and stuff like that. But I had to calm myself down. Like, nope, you have goals to reach, and that's it. And then I realized. Then my mom invited me out to hang out with my cousin for her birthday. We going to the Improv. It's gonna be $25. Oh, and they want to go out to eat. And I was like, Mom, I have some financial goals. Like, I'm still gonna go to the Improv. I know because it's my cousin. We haven't hung out a long time. But I was like, Mom, I can't go out to eat. You know, or if I do go out to eat, I'm gonna eat before, and I'm not gonna eat there. But when I was thinking about it, like all these little things, all these little activities were like, if I went to all of them, or if I spent what I wanted to spend, that would have been over $100 in just 3 days. And so that $100 could have went to my debt. So this, you know, if we're not intentional about, we have to retrain our mind to be very intentional about what we get and what we buy, because everything, if we are not practicing these intentional habits, it's so easy to just spend. And I'm just I was talking to Jasmine too. It's like, Kobe's doing this thing, and I was like, and I know that we all have financial goals, and since we hang out with each other, when we hang out with each other, let's be cognizant about our goals as a team, because we want the same thing, financial freedom. So why wouldn't we as friends, you know, attack this together? Like, let's not invite us to do like stuff. Let's do stuff that's free, and we don't always have to do that. But you know, I don't know.
I love how you address that because, and this is so funny because Kobe and I was just talking about this before you. So literally, as we came this morning for the podcast, and you know, before we set up for the podcast, as we're waiting on one another to come in, like we're typically in the restroom getting ready or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm talking to Kobe, and I'm like, girl, what do you have planned for Martin Luther King weekend? And she was like, girl, you know, we just kind of bouncing ideas. Like, we don't really have anything planned. And then I was like, well, yeah, it's a Saturday night. And then immediately we was like, yeah. And I was like, you have any plans? She was like, no, I have plans. I was like, but like, can it be something free? Because it needs to be something that's in alignment of with our financial goals for 2020. Because and she was like, girl, yes. And I'm like, I love how we're all on the same wave. And it's not to say that you don't have the money. You have the money, but you would just much rather put the money in places where it's going to work for you right now.
Right.
And that made me think how, like, on last year when y'all went to Miami.
Yeah.
And I didn't go for the same reason because it was the hardest thing to do, like, to see my girls go on a girls trip and I ain't go, but I was like, I know at that time I was, to be vulnerable, like I was like in $3,500 worth of debt. And I was like, I can't go to Miami.
That was a smart move.
What with credit card debt. Yeah. And I'm like, because I had made some very unwise financial decisions when I was younger, younger, right out of college. And I was just using the card just very frivolously, not thinking of the repercussions, thinking I had more time to pay things off, and then just letting interest build up and just being very irresponsible, if I just being completely honest. And it was just from the lack of knowledge. Didn't know nothing about no credit card utilization. Didn't know nothing about interest, really. I heard the term, but I didn't understand, like, paying on interest and paying on the actual bill. Right. Like, knowing the difference between the two. And just, so it was from very unwise decisions at that time. And so that trip comes up and I'm making the ultimatum because I had the money in my savings account, but I'm just like, would I feel at peace with myself to go to Miami, like you were saying, knowing I had this debt, this goal that I'm saying I want to pay it off, but let's be real, we go to Miami, we probably gonna spend a good $700 minimum, and or sometimes even more than that. If we shop, it could be up to $1,000,
right?
And so I'm like, literally, that's, if I pay that, I'll be down to $2,000 on my debt. So like, and so I had to make the very tough decision, and it goes back to being very intentional about how you are using your money. And it was something that you had said when you were saying just how we spend money, like to go to the graduation with your cousin.
Oh, her birthday.
Yeah, her birthday. Okay, birthday.
Tina's mom.
Okay. So so going to the why do I keep wanting to say graduation? Okay. But the birthday party, and then after was the concert symphony.
The dinner.
The dinner. No, after. What are y'all doing before the dinner?
You said the improv.
Oh, improv.
Comedy, yeah.
So you go to the improv. That's money toward that. You go to spend going to the dinner after that. That's. We like to eat fancy. You know it. And it's okay to do these things, but you have to map it out, knowing that, okay, when you are setting money aside, putting money specifically that's going to be for savings, money that's specifically going to be toward debt, and then create something that you can have the freedom that's with, and sometimes you might not have no freedom for at least like 2 or 3 paychecks.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that. Like, but okay, I'm putting this $10 away, or $20 or $50, $100, whatever away, so that it can be you're building something, so that in 3 months or 3 paychecks down the line or 3 weeks down the line, okay, I can go to dinner and not feel like I'm taking from something that was specifically supposed to be meant from either my debt or either my savings, or something that was, had a purpose. So if you're very intentional, and I'm not saying people deprive yourself from treating yourself in life or from going to get things, but you have to be like living within your means. Like being everyone's financial target or gauge is going to be different. So where Tiffany could go and say, I'm going to spend $200, I might need to go in that same store and spend $75. And you may need to go in that store and spend $500. But none of us can look at each other like, oh, you spending too much. Yeah, what you gonna say?
That's true.
No, I'm saying, but sometimes you know what, we do give ourselves that leeway, but sometimes we have to just say, nah, I can't do it at all.
Exactly.
I'm gonna give you an example, like with working out. Some people are like, okay, I'm gonna give myself this cheat day. I'm gonna give myself. I'm like, but giving yourself that leeway gives yourself, like, sometimes you have to just go strict to say, no, I'm not gonna do any of it. I'm just to get yourself to that point, and then you can.
Exactly. So once you plant the foundation, you have to. Yes, and I do agree with that, especially in your vulnerable stages. In the begining stage, you can't go back, because then you will revert to old habits, and next thing you know, before you know it, you ain't been to the gym in 3 weeks, or before you know, like, your savings account is still at 0, or before you know, it's just like you have to. You have to first start
no sugar,
off.
no soda.
Yeah, because the thing is, you have to do aggressive things to make aggressive change. Sure, you could even if you're at a gym or something like that, and you can go back and forth, go consistently and stuff like that. But if you're not really going in and going ham, you might see some change super, super slow and gradually, but you're not going to see the change you want to see. But if you eating clean, you going very consistently. There's people I've seen at 24-hour fitness. Every time I go there, I see them, and I only go like 3 times a week, if that. But I see them from start A to start B, and I'm like, wow, this change is drastic. What if I was in here every day like that? Granted, it's not my specific goal, but for someone's goal is to look like that, yes, you should be very aggressive with that. And just talking about the fact that we're talking about having a foundation is basically another way for routine. So when Robert Harper was saying it's very easy to do little things, but it's also easy not to do them. It's hard. You have to train your mind to do the things that you want to be. So basically, I was late today. I didn't have to be late today. I forgot to set my alarm, and I just thought I was naturally gonna wake up. But that's an ongoing thing. A simple thing is setting my alarm for 6:30 or 6 o'clock. Even before I go to work is a very simple thing that I neglect to do very often. And so if we make it routine, if we make these things that are simple routine, then that's easy. But it takes a while for something to become routine.
Absolutely.
Like it takes I'm gonna have to find a routine for us to be on YouTube, as I have the same routine for us to be on our audio platforms consistently. It's like, but it's really hard to cheat within that. Forming that habit. If you cheat within forming that habit, you're not really forming that habit. Is what I'm saying.
No, that's so true. And I'm glad that you said that, because it makes me think about this book, and it's by Napoleon Hill. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but basically within the book, it was saying that we have to be when we get a chief aim. And what a chief aim is a definite, absolute aim. Like, you have your eyes on the prize, a goal, in other words. And so when you have a chief aim, you have to be definite. And what they mean by that, you have to be very clear, concise, and definite, really, about that goal. And when you said that, what you were saying, like, you can't have those cheat days. And to clarify what cheat days I was referring to, I was thinking along the lines of once you've already developed yourself, and it's not even necessarily cheat days anymore, because your cheat days won't even be the same as the cheat days you desire when you were doing low-level things. Your cheat days will be like, it won't even, for example, like, so I've been doing really, really well with saving money, saving my finances, saving like in my investment account. So I was like, okay, my cheat day is I want to take my nieces and nephews to go, like, we can all go out to eat and do something fun with the family, have like a family day. So like my cheat days are not like, oh, I want to go to food.
Splurging, like going shopping and buying.
Yeah, like going. Girl, y'all know I used to have a thing for designer clothes. Like, okay, I'm not, my impulse is not going buy the new latest Balenciagas or going to get the new Golden Goose sneakers, or I got to get the Paige jeans, like, or you know, like these are not my, or going to Neiman Marcus, or you know, just getting these designer Michelle watches and all kind of things like that. Like what I used to do in my lower vibrational state when I was very not practical with my money. Yeah. But now your cheat days are kind of like they're even intentional in and of itself. Right. Like, okay, I've been saving up for this camera, and now I can, since I've reached my goal, I've been putting my money to the side. Now I can go. I consider that a cheat and go make this big purchase, like that's gonna go toward my brand or go toward like the goal that I have. Yeah. And so that's what I mean to clarify when I say cheat days. But going back to whenever you do get started, you do want to be very definite. And what I mean by that, because when we're not definite, and me and my students, we were talking about this in class because I made them come up with 2020 goals. And one of their goals that we came up with as a class was to be definite. And I know it was inspired from this book, and I'm gonna have to get the name of the book. And but the goal was to be definite, because when you're definite, you don't want to get involved with certain distractions. You don't like, okay, for instance, so I was like, okay, what is our goal in class? And they're like, one student was like, just being completely real with y'all, was like, okay, I want to get all A's, or I want to pass all my classes. Another student was like, I want to stop skipping. And I was like,
that's really good.
Exactly. I was like, that's a really, really good goal. But when you're writing your goals, you don't want to necessarily say the negative thing you want to do. So I was like, so how can we, make this a positive thing? Like, perfect we don't attendance. Exactly. Right. I would like to have perfect attendance. And then one student was like, you really gotta want to be definite. You want to definitely want to make that change. And I was like, I was like, what do you mean by that? Elaborate. And it was like, because you can say you want to stop skipping, but then if you're not absolutely sure with yourself that this is what you're going to do, you're going to say, okay, I'll only skip first period. But I went to all the rest of the classes.
Give yourself leeway.
You'll give yourself, or I skipped 7 period. But I went to all the rest of the classes. So it's like, you got to be definite. Like, this is your goal. You got to do, like, so that in the book, when they were saying be definite, they were saying, when you are definite, it helps protect you from doing something that we call drifting. And what drifting is, that little gray area that you give yourself. Well, I ain't all the way lying, but because I told half the truth, or I'm not all the way cheating because I had some lettuce on that, but even though it was all fried, or like, that thing you tell yourself to justify the action. And so if you're definite, you like, okay, this is no gray area. It's either yes or no, black or white, and this is what it's going to be. I'm going to get all A's. How are you going to do that? I'm going to be definite. So therefore, you can't fall into the traps of the procrastination, or like saying that I'm not going to do it. Because think about some things in our life that we definitely do every day. Like when they say be at work from this time to this time, you were definitely there. It's not like, I was on my way, but then there was a traffic jam and then couldn't go. No, you absolutely are going to be there to fulfill that obligation, if that's the type of person you are. So it's like being definite about everything, because and I kind of think of it as being intentional, but being absolute about that intention, and will cause you to not drift in life.
Yeah, it just reminds me of how we started off the podcast when Kobe was talking about what she's been going through. It's just like, there is a point that you get tired of being tired of yourself. You're like tired of things not changing. And so also I wanted to bring up the point where it's just like, I feel like almost sometimes you have to be so fed up with yourself and with the stagnation of your life that triggers this dramatic change or drastic change. And sometimes it doesn't have to go to that to find out what your definite is. But I know there's a lot of things that are definite in my life and definite in your life that you definitely want to do. You're definitely called to do that by God, but you're not taking the actions. I mean, and this is the time to start doing that and practicing that. But I did want to tell the story about I was listening to this guy named Shan who teaches at Be Busy Inc. with us. and he was talking to a student. So it was a career day, and this story just like hit me in my soul, and I feel like I heard it before, but I'm just gonna tell it again. So there was this guy who said he wanted to swim to Alcatraz, and so he did, like he started swimming, and he got halfway there, and he was tired, so he swam back. And so the whole class was like, "What? He swam back? He could have just swam the whole way, halfway back." And I was like, "Yeah, true." But he was like, "Yeah, people often swim back because they're comfortable with being back where they started." And I think that happens to a lot of us, right? And it's just like we have the stamina to keep going, but we get scared of that change, because when we start making these habitual changes, once we get our finances right, we will move out.
That trip, and it's tempting. It's tempting to be like, ooh, birthday trip.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to go back to old habits, but also I feel like sometimes we throw in those bad habits because sometimes we're scared of what's to come after we do succeed. Oh, I paid off my debt. I actually do have to start this business. I actually do have to move out. Oh, I'm saying no to F boys. Oh, I actually do might have to be committed and married and stuff like that. Like, and so it's just like, we sometimes
on the other side of that change.
What if we don't go back? Like, what if we keep going forward and go to Alcatraz? Because we have the stamina to get there, but we put ourselves back to get somewhere that we're comfortable. And sometimes I feel like it starts because we're like very scared of what the next step is, but also sometimes it's because we lazy and we doing our job. But sometimes I'll be thinking, even within myself, like, whoa, how am I gonna accomplish all these goals that I have set for myself?
Wow. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because, girl, once again, y'all, so every January we have this team lead huddle. Yeah. And Rodney, one of our department heads, was sharing this 5S model. And I thought it would go perfect with the power of practice. And the first thing is sort. And so you were saying something about unnecessary. Mm-hmm. And the first S in the 5S model is sort. And it says keep only what you need. Necessary. You have to look at what's necessary versus what's unnecessary. Right. Remove the unnecessary item. Remove those unnecessary habits, and keep the outdated items, the broken items, broken habits, all those things. You have to remove that and put in place necessary items.
That's real.
Yes.
Get that junk food out your house.
Girl, yes. Number 2 is straighten. And so this is, think about it as a circle. So this is something that's going to be continuous, and it just keeps going. And this is how you practice. You practice what you're doing.
Right.
So the next thing is straighten. And this is organize and put everything in its place. Cool. And so, yes, this is like a workplace thing, but you can use this in your personal life. So everything has a place for everything, and everything in its place. So you have to make things compact. So I just think about cleaning. That's something I did over the break. And I was like, okay, I want my space to be cleaner. I was telling y'all, if I can't maintain or keep in order the things that I have right now, how is God going to bless me even more? And so that requires me doing small things like washing my clothes, folding them, putting them up. Like, that's a practice. Something we get stuck on that first step. We wash them, but then we leave it in the basket and we fumbling through the basket trying to find
something to wear.
Exactly. Practice. Wash, fold, put up. Wash, hang up, put it.
It does have to be a practice.
Put it in its right place. This could go with skincare.
Real quick.
Yes.
That made me even think about like relationships. You have to put certain things in the correct place.
Yes.
Like sometimes it's not necessarily objectively. Sometimes it has to be done in what you allow in that relationship. What do you allow? And not even just intimate relationships, work relationships. Everything has a place. There's a time and a place for everything. Wow, and so this, like, to maintain a balanced life, you have to have certain places. It's almost like you compartmentalize in your life. Yes. And it seems abstract because This is something that we haven't been taught to do. But what if this is the way? And I think this is the key to wealth, that order, because it makes life organized. It does make you seem like you aren't in this box, but then it's like, I do need to be it increases the intentionality of everything when you are putting this in this specific place. Like, so you don't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're making your life easier. So, like,
Exactly.
I be very inspired by y'all. So I'm like, oh, she clean, let me clean. So, like, I've been maintaining a clean room. And so it's only because I was getting tired of working very hard, working at home, then doing something for fulfilling, or going to work out, and then I go home to a dirty space. But it's easier. My life is easier. I can do the things that my goals are easier to attain when my room is clean. I know where things go. It's like basically putting things in the right place so you can make your goals easier to obtain. It's easier to obtain my goals when my room is clean. I could get in bed, get out of bed, put my clothes up. It makes me easier to do the little other things that I need to do for life.
And so with the last thing with that, just decide how things should be and obey those rules. So if you have a set rule and a set standard, then stick to that and then obey those rules.
Yeah.
So we have sort, straighten, and then shine. So this is clean and expect to make sure everything is in working order. And so sometimes, just as you're practicing, you're going to realize, okay, you know what, this is just not working. Some things are just going to work. You're going to figure out that flow of things. And so this is where you identify, it says identify root causes of dirtiness. Only one work activity at a specific time. Cleanliness should be a daily activity. So just making sure, everything is looking how we want it to be.
That's really good. Is there another one? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, that's really good because I wrote down in my notes that we do need to change things up. So let's give working out, for example.
Yeah.
I pretty much do the same thing every week, or like, once my back started hurting, I would just do the elliptical and things of that nature. But that's a bad example. What I'm saying is before even that, I was doing the same things every day. And so I think we need to also be cognizant of that, because are you doing the same things every day? Sometimes you need to switch it up to hit another point.
Yes.
Like sometimes your booty may have grown, but you need the tummy flat, so it's like you have to change up your workout. And I think a lot of times we get stuck in doing the same thing, even though it's a good habit, over and over again, and we're still getting the same thing. Podcast, for example. Yes, we are continuously putting out episodes on Tuesday. We are consistently doing the things that we know how to do, but there's another layer that we have to add on in order to reach our goals. So sometimes even good habits, we need to build better habits on top of that, or we'll be still stuck in the same way. Like it might be cool that I'm still like my same size, but I want to be different. I want to be stronger. You know what I'm saying? So
and that just makes me think about change. We always constantly growing and changing. So you have to, once you do reach the goal, like you said, you want to add more on top of that goal. And in order to add more on top of that goal, you have to be aware. You have to be aware, like, okay, I mastered this level. So like being willing to evaluate yourself and be like, okay, I know I need to build. I know I can be better. Yes, this is good, but is this really my goal? And like you said, I haven't gained weight. I don't look like I'm out of shape, but I know I have this, not saying that this even pertaining to weight, but like just, I know I have this goal. Yeah, the podcast is great, but we know we have this goal, and it's like in order to, and I'm saying basically the same thing said, but in order to reach that goal, it has to be a change. That's the only way. It's like
you have to build an extra habit to get a better goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once again, sort, straighten, shine, and standardize. And so with this, I also want to I forgot to mention, when you're practicing things, you have to, if we're going back to the cleaning, say, hey, okay, on Saturdays or Sundays, I'm going to wash my hair. And this is going to be like my self-care day. I'm going to wash my clothes, setting certain days. And that's what I kind of mean by the specific rules and saying, okay, I'm going to make this my workout days. My workout days Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My Tuesday, Thursday, I'm meeting for my business. And then Saturday is have fun, and Sunday is self-care. And we're going to do this all over and repeat.
Right.
So standardize, use a schedule, checklist, make it easy for yourself, and just keep that consistency going. As you were saying, you do the same thing, like just keep that going. That'll help you be able to practice and keep that flow. And then the last thing is sustain. So train and maintain the standards for success. And this is the toughest part, because this is where we all fall off. We get started, we like, yeah, okay, it's the beginning of the year. I'm gonna make these changes. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna eat right. And then by the second week, we back to what's comfortable.
And that's it's a good way to end this episode, because if we're talking about the power of practice, and that means they say you never stop learning, but you never stop practicing too. So I could be working out for 20 years, fit as heck my whole life, but when I stop practicing those habits, that 20 years is not going to make me still snatch in my 60s. No, even when I'm in my 60s, I might have to change up my routine, but I still have to practice that. We talked about even practicing the power of positivity. Yeah, we practice positivity all the time. We speak life into ourselves. But let me stop going to church. Let me start hanging around friends that don't uplift me. Let me start doubting myself over and over again. If I'm not, that power of positivity isn't just gonna come back over me. No, everything that we do and everything that we want is gonna continue. It's gonna take practice. So our whole life is gonna be full of practicing, getting stronger and better every single day.
Yes. So become regular habits, and then, like as they were saying, just to piggyback, just as you're sustaining and making sure everything is continuous, just aiming higher, and it's always about continuous improvement, making yourself better and growing. Lastly, some companies added on to that 5S model and made it like a 7S, and they have safety and spirit. So I'm not gonna go into safety, but I do want to lead with spirit. And then that's the thing, is where if your goes into intentions and just mindset. So you just want to have a mindset of, making life fun and just light, and just that spirit of not looking at your life as, okay, I can't do this, I can't have fun. Like looking at my savings and spending, like I can't have fun, I can't do this, I can't do that. But looking at it in a perspective of, I'm being better. I'm doing better. I'm able to live the life that I want to live by saving, and I'm looking at the long term. Like my mindset is different.
That's good. That's really good. Ooh, I'm glad we ended with that.
All right. Okay, y'all. What time is it?
It's affirmation time. It's affirmation time. It's affirmation time.
Y'all, if this is your first time tuning in on the Soul Filling Podcast, we always my voice kind of gone there. Always end with this positive affirmation. So, what the heck is an affirmation? An affirmation is any statement that you are using to transform your life. Even in the Bible, it states, "Let the weak say, I am strong." So, on those days when you're feeling not your best self, still speak that you are going to get through this. You're getting better and better, and you are about to receive all the divine promises that the Lord want to give to you. So it's 3 of us, and I'm affirming that there is millions, billions, trillions of y'all out there tuned in. So who wants to go ahead and end it off with that positive affirmation?
I am a woman of my word.
I am living in my most divine order.
I am present and conscious.
Love it. All right, guys, make sure you follow us everywhere. Soul Filling Podcast, SoulFillling Podcast. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and YouTube. And we're also on every streaming. We're also on we're also on all our social media platforms at the same thing, Soul Filling Podcast. So just follow us there. And if you are listening us to y'all, I can't talk. And if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating and write something sweet. We love you guys so much.
Until next time, Soulmates.
Bye.